Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Quick update. What If Natsu had dual elements will be going on hold soon, since we've nearly caught up with the author. I'd love to do another poll to decide our next project, but unfortunately, due to my travel plans, I won't be able to start a new series until the end of December if we go that route. So instead, I've decided that the series which came in second place in the last poll will be our next project. That means the series replacing What If Natsu had dual elements will be What If Transmigrated into One Piece and became a Marine. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 291, Cute. Dylan thought Among Us was as reliable as ever. Kukui, however, didn't quite agree. He was starting to find this situation pretty tricky. His braviary was asleep, and unless it used sleep talk, it was just a sitting duck. But sleep talk was a gamble. It randomly selects one of the moves the user knows. And braviary had learned way too many. Should he switch it out? But even then, it'd still be asleep when it came back later. Grassy terrain glimmered softly, its green light healing Among Us a little. Braviary, now grounded, couldn't benefit from it while at full HP. Sludge bomb. While Kukui hesitated, Dylan gave his command. Among Us raised both arms, purple energy condensing before launching blobs of toxic sludge at Braviary. Braviary, use sleep talk. Kukui quickly responded. He couldn't just stand there and let it be pummeled. Still asleep, Braviary stirred, talons twitching. A soft white glow enveloped it. It used hone claws. Kukui winced. Boosting attack was nice and all, but not very helpful right now. Among Us's sludge bombs landed cleanly, exploding one after another. Braviary groaned in pain. Despite Among Us's modest special attack and the fact it had been weakened earlier by parting shot, Braviary didn't have the best special defense either. As the smoke cleared, Braviary looked pretty beat up. Keep it up. Sludge bomb again. Return, Braviary. Kukui immediately called it back. He wasn't going to let it take another hit for nothing. Ninetales. He sent out his third Pokemon, a beautiful, pale blue fox with a regal poise. An Alolan Ninetales. Its ice/fairy typing was a strong counter to Among Us. Unlike Braviary, who preferred melee, Alolan Ninetales was a ranged attacker. Its offensive stats weren't overwhelming, but its mobility and typing made it very effective. Alolan Ninetales has a 4x weakness to steel, but Among Us can't learn any steel moves, Leaf noted, checking the Rotom Dex. This one had the Snowcloak ability, not Snow Warning. Snowcloak boosts evasion during hail, but without setting up hail first, it wasn't doing anything. Among Us is just too slow for this matchup, Ito muttered. Alolan Ninetales was agile and had decent power, especially under a skilled trainer like Kukui. And it can't learn any switching moves either, Lily added. That makes it hard for my brother to rotate, but that's okay. It's just his first Pokemon. On the field. Ninetales, Blizzard. Kukui wasted no time. With a melodic cry, Ninetales gathered icy energy in its mouth. A fierce snowstorm roared across the battlefield. Roll out. Dylan raised an eyebrow. Kukui had quickly adjusted his strategy. Among Us wasn't good at dealing with ranged attackers. Its physical attack was poor, and speed even worse. Moves like Spore were great, wide area, fast to use, and guaranteed to sleep, but only at close range. Against distance fighters, it struggled. Still, not completely helpless. At Dylan's command, Among Us curled up and began spinning rapidly, a genetic move, Rollout. The rolling mushroom picked up speed and just barely dodged the blizzard, tucking itself into a corner. Grassy terrain pulsed again, healing it slightly. Keep rolling forward. Among Us didn't stop, its rolling grew faster as it headed toward Ninetales. Freeze the ground with Ice Beam. Kukui reacted quickly. Ninetales fired a twisting beam of icy light along the ground, instantly freezing the surface in Amungus's path. Amoonguss hit the slick ice and started to skid, completely out of control. Dylan chuckled lightly. As expected of Professor Kukui. Blizzard. The storm erupted again. Protect. Amoonguss stopped rolling, but inertia carried it forward. A green barrier flared to life just in time to block the full force of the blizzard. Quick response, Kukui admitted. If that protect had been even a second late, Amoonguss would have been done for. Sweet scent. Amoonguss swung its arms, releasing another wave of pink fragrance. Ninetales, back off. Then ice beam. Kukui had learned his lesson from Braviary. No way he'd let Ninetales get close to that suspicious mist. Ninetales retreated, and as Amoonguss rolled closer, it leapt up gracefully, soaring over the mushroom. Ice beam. From midair, Ninetales turned and blasted a freezing beam straight at Amoonguss. Spore. Dylan didn't hesitate. Amoonguss halted its roll and flung its arms wide, spraying a dense cloud of spores upward. Ninetales. Kukui's eyes widened. The ice beam hit, instantly freezing some of the spores, and struck Amoonguss hard. The frost seared through it, it cried out in pain. Ice was super effective, and it hurt. Still, it had managed to unleash most of the spore cloud. Ninetales, midair, couldn't dodge. The spores engulfed it, and within moments, Ninetales was overwhelmed by a wave of drowsiness. Thump! It fell, fast asleep. Amoonguss bounced over, tapping Ninetales' head with its mushroom arm again, classic move. Satisfied, it jumped up and down gleefully and began a ridiculous little dance on top of Ninetales' body. It liked to dance, apparently. Kukui. Again? Amelia stared, her expression unreadable. It's dancing, on her head. This thing is so damn weird, Ito muttered. He'd initially disliked Amoonguss ugly and not that strong, he thought. But now? It had already put two of Kukui's Pokemon to sleep. That thing could sleep a whole party if you weren't careful. See? Amoonguss is adorable, Dylan said, utterly pleased, watching it wiggle around. He fully believed in his Pokemon's cuteness. Cute. Kukui had question marks swirling above his head. His usually tan face was darkening visibly. This ugly, freaky thing, cute. So that's what Dylan meant when he said grass Pokemon were cute. This thing was dancing on top of his sleeping, elegant, ethereal Ninetales. The audacity. How dare this grotesque fungus desecrate his graceful ice fox? Return, Ninetales. Kukui quickly withdrew her. He couldn't watch another second. Gross. Absolutely revolting. Not only did it sleep her, it danced on her. That thing needed to go fast. If I let that thing sleep one more of my team, this match is done, he muttered, glaring at the eccentric mushroom. Grassy terrain glowed again, healing Amoonguss some more. Incineroar. Kukui threw out his ace, no more games. He was going to end this mushroom menace here and now. A flash of white, his powerful Incineroar appeared, growling low. Amoonguss swayed slowly from side to side, completely unfazed. Incineroar, huh? Dylan raised an eyebrow. You've got to keep your cool in battle, Professor Kukui. He sounded amused. Kukui looked dead serious now. I am cool, Dylan. All right then. Incineroar, flamethrower. Flames roared from Incineroar's belt, surging toward Amoonguss. Dodge it. Even with its slow speed, Amoonguss had enough distance to hop awkwardly out of the way. Fire spin. Another swirl of flames surrounded the area, trapping Amoonguss in a searing vortex. Amoonguss landed, wincing. It hated the heat. This is tricky, Dylan muttered. Kukui was really pushing hard. That Incineroar was strong, no doubt about it. Time to wait for an opening. Kukui was bound to go for a close-range move. Fire punch. Right on cue, Incineroar charged, flames blazing on its claws. Spore. Dylan called it. Amoonguss didn't back down. Even if it meant taking a hit, if Spore landed, it'd be worth it. Amoonguss hopped back, arms flailing as it unleashed a cloud of spores. It looked ridiculous, to be honest, but effective. Flare Blitz. But Kukui was ready this time. Incineroar roared, flames engulfing its entire body. Flare Blitz. It charged straight through the spores, burning every last one away. Nice try, Dylan. Spore won't work on my Incineroar. Kukui finally grinned again, feeling vindicated. Dylan just smiled. Boom! The Flare Blitz slammed into Amoonguss, launching it across the field. It crashed to the ground, fainted. To be fair, it had already taken a lot. Braviary's aerial ace, Ninetales' ice beam, plus the burning damage. Grassy terrain could only do so much. But Amoonguss had done its job. It had put two of Kukui's Pokémon to sleep, an amazing performance. Amoonguss is unable to battle. Incineroar wins, Leaf declared. Couldn't hang on, huh? A shame, Ito muttered. If it had put Incineroar to sleep too, that would have been insane. Well done. Get some rest. Dylan returned Amoonguss, praising it gently as he clipped the Pokeball to his belt. Finally. Kukui let out a breath. That mushroom was deceptively hard to beat. You're strong, Professor Kukui. Taking down my Amoonguss is no easy feat. Dylan smiled, holding up his next Pokeball. I appreciate it. I am a pretty well-known trainer in Alola, after all. Kukui still stayed modest, though he didn't say he was the strongest. Well then, let's see how you handle this one, Professor. Dylan's smile widened as he threw his second Pokeball. My second Pokémon, Whimsicott. Let's go! With a puff of white light, an adorable cotton fluff landed on the field, smiling brightly. It struck a confident pose, tiny hands on its hips, staring up at Incineroar. Whimsicott. Now that's actually cute. Kukui nodded in approval. Even he had to admit it was undeniably adorable. Unlike that weird, creepy mushroom. Besides Spore, what else did that thing even have? Whimsicott, though? Now that was a real cutie. Chapter 292, Dylan, you can't fight like this. If I remember correctly, Whimsicott's damage output isn't very high. Professor Kukui muttered to himself, weighing his options. Incineroar, parting shot. Kukui decided it was time to withdraw his ace. He wouldn't have used it to quickly handle Amoonguss earlier if he had any other choice. Incineroar barked out a stream of trash talk at Whimsicott, but the little fluffball kept its bright, mischievous smile only narrowing its eyes slightly. A faint glow surrounded Whimsicott as its attack and special attack were lowered. Meanwhile, Incineroar retreated into its Pokeball. Braviary. Kukui sent out his second pick. As soon as it appeared, Braviary dropped heavily onto the field, still sound asleep. Ha! Trying to stall out sleep turns with a low-damage opponent? Dylan tilted his head slightly. Professor Kukui, that might not be the best idea. He smiled as he said it. In truth, keeping Incineroar in would have been smarter because Whimsicott's prankster ability wouldn't work on a dark type like Incineroar. But maybe Kukui hadn't faced a serious Whimsicott before. After all, battles in Alola tended to be much more normal. Plus, it was true Whimsicott's offense wasn't exactly terrifying. So using it to stall Braviary awake made some sense. Not necessarily, Kukui grinned. Braviary isn't totally helpless. Moonblast. Dylan didn't argue further, he simply gave his command. Whimsicott raised its tiny arms. A ghostly, shimmering moon appeared overhead, scattering cold silvery light into a single glowing sphere. Fairy-type move, Moonblast. The energy orb shot toward the sleeping Braviary. Sleep talk. Braviary stirred, a faint white glow surrounding its claws, tearful look, an ineffective choice. Because it was using sleep talk, Braviary charged straight forward, unable to dodge. The Moonblast hit squarely. Boom! Braviary grunted in pain but remained asleep on the ground. Still, Whimsicott's special attack was middling at best, and thanks to parting shot, it had been weakened further. Overall, it wasn't devastating damage, plus Braviary didn't have great special defense. Again. Moonblast. Dylan ordered another. Whimsicott launched another glowing orb at Braviary. Sleep talk. Kukui called. Braviary staggered up again, its beak glowing. It used Zen Headbutt. The powerful psychic charge blew apart the incoming moonblast in a burst of light. Braviary's eyes snapped open with a sharp cry. It was awake. Yes. Kukui beamed. Finally. Not good. Braviary's awake, Ito frowned. Although Braviary had been hit a few times, he didn't look seriously injured. Don't worry, Dad. Now the fun really starts, Lily said with a bright grin. She knew what was coming next. Kukui thought waking Braviary had changed the game, but not quite. On the field. Let's go, Braviary. Kukui called, full of energy. Braviary answered with a proud screech, locking its sharp gaze onto the little fluffball still bouncing lightly. A tiny cotton creature daring to show off in front of the great eagle. Braviary, aerial ace. The eagle shot forward with a flap of its powerful wings. Tailwind. Whimsicott lifted its arms, summoning a strong gust that wrapped behind it, boosting its speed. That tailwind formed really fast. Prankster ability? Kukui's eyes narrowed. Yeah, there was no way a normal tailwind would be that quick. Braviary dived, slicing through the air 5 meters, 3 meters, 1 meter. Dodge. At the last second, Whimsicott sprang lightly upward, evading the aerial ace with perfect timing. Stun Spore. Still smiling mischievously, Whimsicott fluttered its arms, sprinkling bright yellow powder. Braviary. Kukui gasped. The powder coated Braviary before it could escape. It flinched violently, body freezing up mid-flap. Thud. Braviary dropped flat on the field, paralyzed. Ha! Ito and Amelia both gawked. Wake up from sleep only to get paralyzed immediately. Dylan, you can't fight like this. Where's the fun in battle? Kukui's face darkened again, fighting the urge to scream internally. Sleep at least gave some hope of waking up. Paralysis? You're speed tanks, you get randomly frozen stiff, you're basically at your opponent's mercy. Leech Seed. Dylan remained as sunny and composed as ever, his bright, gentle smile never wavering. Whimsicott hurled green seeds that immediately took root around Braviary, vines sprouting and latching onto it. Tiny green sparks drifted from Braviary into Whimsicott's body. Braviary. Break free. Kukui urged. No way would they give up, they were warriors. Braviary struggled, eventually breaking free from the worst of the vines. Still, its movements were sluggish. Moonblast. Whimsicott floated higher, another radiant moon forming above its head. Braviary tried to dodge, but between paralysis and lingering vines, it was too slow. Boom! Another explosion rocked the field, slamming Braviary hard. Kukui's hands clenched. He looked from the battered Braviary to the still smirking Whimsicott and shivered. How was this considered cute? Where was the cuteness Dylan had spoken of? Braviary. Take to the skies. Kukui shouted, refusing to quit. Braviary flapped its wings, lifting into the air despite the paralysis. Such admirable willpower, Dylan nodded approvingly. But let's send you off properly. Moonblast. Another sphere of moonlight hurtled toward Braviary. Brave bird. Kukui yelled. Break through it. Braviary let out a battle cry, red flames of Bravebird igniting around it. If it could just pull off Bravebird, it could crush the moonblast and maybe even take Whimsicott down. But just as the flames peaked, a spark jumped along Braviary's feathers. Its body froze. It was paralyzed. Completely stiff. Boom! The moonblast smashed into Braviary, the light exploding across its frozen body. Braviary fell from the sky like a stone, crashing heavily to the ground. Braviary is unable to battle. Whimsicott wins, Leaf announced crisply. See, Dad, I told you it didn't matter if Braviary woke up, Lily said sweetly. Ito could only click his tongue, watching Whimsicott drift lazily back down. Holy crap! Braviary never even touched it. It just got totally dismantled by that fluffy little demon. Honestly? Respect. Still, no way Kukui was having fun. Dylan's battling style hadn't changed one bit. Back then against Zinnia, and now, if anything, it was even more shameless. Ito glanced sideways at Kukui. Sure enough, the professor's face was dark again, his smile completely gone. Professor, my Whimsicott is a lot harder to deal with than Amoonguss. You can't be careless, Dylan said kindly. I think I get it now, Kukui forced a stiff smile. He loved battling, that's why he even moonlighted as the masked royal in Battle Royale. But, not like this. Still, Kukui was Kukui. He quickly refocused. Whimsicott floated smugly in the air, speed boosted by Tailwind, immune to being touched. Incineroar wouldn't be affected by prankster moves, sure, but that didn't mean actually hitting it would be easy. Come on out, Magnezone. Kukui tossed another Pokeball. A metallic hum echoed through the field as a shiny silver disc-shaped Pokemon appeared, 3 magnets spinning slowly. It was Magnezone Magneton's final evolution. Good choice. Electric types can't be paralyzed. Steel types can't be poisoned. Even though electric attacks weren't super effective against Whimsicott, Magnezone wasn't limited to just electric moves. Its overwhelming special attack and natural resistance would turn the tide. Magnezone, huh? Dylan chuckled softly. He could guess Kukui's strategy. Still, it wasn't a big deal. Whimsicott wasn't like Amoonguss. It knew U-turn. Whenever things got tricky, it could always bail. Chapter 293, Little Bit of a Conscience. Magnezone might be a decent counter, but the good news is it doesn't have many moves that can actually hit Whimsicott effectively. Leaf glanced at the Magnezone, it was clearly strong. Magnezone was a top-tier special attacker. Sure, it had a 4x weakness to ground, but with Levitate, it could often avoid ground-type moves altogether. Outside of ground, it only feared fighting in fire. Its resistances, though, were absolutely stellar. Deep Magnezone, Electric/Steel type. Magnet Area Pokemon. Ability, Sturdy. Moves, Zap Cannon, Lock-On, Light Screen, Flash Cannon, Tri-Attack, Hyper Beam. Dex Entry. Evolved from Magneton due to a special magnetic field. It emits magnetic waves from its 3 units. Yep. Pretty formidable. Lily stared at the Pokédex and turned to her brother and Whimsicott, curious how he'd handle it. Magnezone, Tri-Attack. Kukui called. Flames, ice, and lightning surged around Magnezone, merging into a triangle of swirling energy that shot toward Whimsicott. Professor Kukui, don't you think it's a little optimistic to think that kind of attack will hit my Whimsicott? Dylan chuckled softly. Even without Tailwind, Whimsicott's agility made dodging something like that a breeze. Indeed, the fluffy trickster leapt backward easily, letting the Tri-Attack sail harmlessly past. Light Screen, Dylan added. A transparent screen shimmered into existence in front of Whimsicott before quickly vanishing into its body. With Prankster active, Whimsicott's support moves were lightning fast. Kukui's expression turned grim. Now that Light Screen was up, things were even worse. This kid, Ito muttered. How's Kukui supposed to win now? Magnezone, Swift, go for wide coverage. Kukui pivoted strategies, trying for a fast, area-spanning move. Encore, Dylan said simply. Whimsicott clapped gleefully, giggling as mysterious energy washed over Magnezone, locking it into its last move. It couldn't use anything but Swift now. Kukui's expression darkened further. This cotton gremlin was getting more annoying by the second. Magnezone, get in close. Tri-Attack. If they were stuck with it, might as well try to make it work. Magnezone hovered forward. But its approach wasn't fast, and Whimsicott didn't even bother moving. Once in range, Magnezone unleashed another swirling triangle of elemental energy. Leech Seed. Whimsicott casually drifted to the side, easily dodging, and sent a flurry of glowing seeds flying. They latched onto Magnezone, sprouting vines that sapped away its energy, transferring it into Whimsicott. Kukui's face twitched. The tension in his whole body was almost visible. Try attack. Kukui took a deep breath, forcing himself to stay calm. Leech Seed didn't deal immediate, devastating damage, it was chip damage. But it added up. Fast. Another tri-attack formed. Whimsicott dodged again with ease. Cotton Guard. Whimsicott puffed up dramatically, its cotton-like body fluffing out as its defense skyrocketed. Tailwind faded. Leech Seed continued draining. Tri-attack. Kukui was now visibly weary. This was tiresome. Nothing was landing. Tailwind. Whimsicott drifted sideways to dodge and reignited Tailwind with a swirl of wind behind it. Finally, Encore ended. Kukui exhaled sharply. At least he could use a new move. Magnezone, Lock On. He had a plan now. Even if it just forced Dylan to use Protect, at least it'd be progress. Encore. Kukui blinked in disbelief. Whimsicott clapped again, giggling sweetly, let's keep doing that, big bro Magnezone. Lock-on failed to complete. Encore locked Magnezone back into tri-attack. Kukui's face went stone cold. His fists clenched as he stared at the smug, dancing Whimsicott. Cute on the outside, but inside? Pure evil. Professor Kukui's looking a little scary, Amelia said nervously. You think he's going to snap? Even she could tell Kukui was about to lose it, and he was known for being calm and cheerful. Leaf and Lily exchanged awkward, polite chuckles. If it were me, Ito said solemnly, only one of us would be walking out of this arena. Shut up, Amelia snorted. But that Whimsicott is strong. I'm definitely breeding one. He was already imagining the satisfaction of watching opponents' expressions twist in frustration. Yes, he needed one of these. Back on the field. Professor Kukui, aren't you going to attack? Dylan tilted his head innocently. Kukui tried to smile, but his lips barely moved. Attack? What attack? All he could do was use tri-attack, and that hadn't connected once. Even when he tried to lock on, Dylan didn't even wait for the combo, he just encored the setup. Was this mercy? What kind of hell were the trainers of Kanto living in every day? Kukui silently vowed to go back and study every review of this gym. Dylan's strategies had to be borderline war crimes. He sighed. Honestly, his enthusiasm for the battle had been thoroughly drained. Maybe it was time to throw in the towel. Well, I guess Whimsicott really isn't suited for dealing with your Magnezone, Professor. I'll swap it out. Dylan seemed to sense Kukui's breaking point and kindly decided to ease off, at least for now. He absolutely could have won through stall tactics, Leech Seed was still active. But Kukui was visibly on the edge. Whimsicott, U-turn. Boosted by Tailwind, Whimsicott zipped forward and slammed into Magnezone, vanishing in a flash of light. Looks like Dylan still has some humanity left in him, Kukui muttered, finally exhaling. That thing had been psychological warfare disguised as a Pokemon. Rillaboom, let's go. Dylan threw his third Pokeball. A powerful brown gorilla landed in front of him, pulling a massive drum from its back. It was Rillaboom. The grass starter from Galar, huh? Kukui recognized it immediately. Looked normal enough, but he wasn't letting his guard down. Whimsicott had tricked him once. As Rillaboom touched the ground, green light spread over the battlefield, grassy terrain activated. Magnezone, try attack. Kukui was back in the game. He wanted to test the waters. Fire, ice, and lightning formed again in front of Magnezone. But Leech Seed still drained it, transferring energy to Rillaboom. Fake out. Rillaboom lunged, smacking Magnezone right in the face with a sharp slap. The metal Pokémon flinched backward, flinching. Kukui grimaced. It didn't hurt much, but it was annoying. High horsepower. Watch out, Magnezone. Rillaboom followed through, flipping around and stomping its glowing leg into Magnezone. A devastating ground-type attack, Magnezone's 4x weakness. Boom! The impact sent Magnezone flying backward, crashing into the ground with a metallic screech. The earth trembled. Damn, this ape is intense. Ito whistled. That high horsepower kick was no joke. Rillaboom is my brother's physical attacker in his grass team. He's very strong. Lily beamed with pride. Unlike Whimsicott and Amoonguss, who were support-oriented, Rillaboom was a straight-up brawler. Kukui nodded solemnly. This one was legit. Powerful, straightforward, a true test of strength. Not like that cursed Whimsicott, which messed with your team and your mind. That wasn't real battling. If Magnezone had actually been stalled to death by Whimsicott, Kukui would have sworn off battling for a week. Absolutely certain. Chapter 294, Dylan's fourth Grass-type Pokémon. Kukui mulled over which Pokémon to send out next. Alolan Ninetales was still asleep, definitely not a good option. Dylan's Rillaboom hit hard, and Ninetales had a 4x weakness to Steel. Kukui didn't know if Rillaboom could learn Steel-type moves, but it wasn't worth the risk. If it did, Ninetales would be toast. And Incineroar? He had to keep that one for the final stretch. He could use it now to debuff with Parting Shot, but giving Dylan free rein to power up in the meantime? Not smart. Besides, his Incineroar didn't run the Intimidate plus Fake Out setup anyway. Snorlax. Kukui tossed out his fifth Pokeball. A massive, round Snorlax landed with a thunderous thud. Thick fat Snorlax, huh? Lily glanced at the Rotom Dex's readout. This Snorlax had the thick fat ability. Was Snorlax good against Rillaboom? Not particularly, neither had a type advantage, but with grassy terrain active, Rillaboom held a slight edge. Snorlax. Earthquake. Kukui commanded the first strike. Earthquake might not be super effective against Rillaboom, but it was wide range and reliable. Snorlax let out a low rumble and slammed both fists into the ground. The battlefield shook violently as the seismic shockwaves rippled outward. Dodge and use War Cry, Dylan called casually. Rillaboom leapt into the air, avoiding the tremors, and let out a primal roar. Soundwaves burst forth, forcing Snorlax to cover its ears. A fade light flashed over its body, its attack and special attack were both lowered. Roll into it. Kukui snapped. Snorlax tucked in its limbs and started rolling straight for Rillaboom. Grassy Glide. Rillaboom hit the turf running, literally, and slid forward on the grassy terrain, glowing with green energy. Bam! The attack tore across Snorlax's belly, drawing a pained groan. Fast. Too fast. Kukui's eyes widened. In grassy terrain, Grassy Glide becomes a priority move, Dylan explained with a smile. Plus, grassy terrain boosts its power. Again, Dylan said without hesitation. Rillaboom turned smoothly and came in for another slide. Earthquake. Snorlax once again slammed the ground. The tremors rolled outward, but Rillaboom powered through it and sliced Snorlax again with Grassy Glide. Rillaboom resisted Earthquake. Combined with grassy terrain reducing Earthquake's base power, the damage was minimal. Meanwhile, Snorlax's poor defense meant those Grassy Glides hurt. The battlefield pulsed green again as grassy terrain healed both combatants slightly. This isn't sustainable, Kukui muttered. Snorlax will go down first. And worse, Rillaboom was still skating around like a madman. But grassy terrain was almost gone. Once that ended, Grassy Glide would stop being a priority move. Time ticked on. After two more exchanges, the green glow of the terrain finally faded. Grassy terrain has ended, Ito noted.
Snorlax should have a bit more breathing room now. Still, it's pretty beat up, Lily added, brows furrowed. If it didn't have such a massive health pool, it'd be down by now. Snorlax, rest. Kukui wasted no time.
Snorlax lay down with a low groan, instantly falling into a peaceful slumber as its injuries vanished. Just as expected, Dylan thought.
Perfect time to give you a new matchup. Rillaboom, you turn.
Rillaboom's body glowed and slammed headfirst into Snorlax's gut, sending waves rippling across its pudgy belly. Someone had clearly been spoiling this guy.
Kukui raised a brow. Rillaboom was still in good shape, why switch? Wait, he better not send that damned Whimsicott out again. Superior, let's battle. Dylan tossed his fourth Pokeball.
A flash of white light revealed a long, elegant serpent raising its head with regal poise. Crimson eyes locked onto the snoozing Snorlax.
Superior, the final evolution of Snivy from Unova. Kukui narrowed his eyes.
He'd heard of this one.
But why switch to Superior now? Ooh, pretty. Amelia and Ito's eyes lit up.
Despite being a snake Pokemon, Superior's design was strikingly noble and refined. It was nothing like Arbok or Seviper. Superior was graceful, commanding, and undeniably beautiful.
Deep Superior, Grass type. Regal Pokemon. Ability, Contrary. Moves: Leaf Storm, Giga Drain, Leaf Blade, Magical Leaf, Dragon Pulse, Frenzy Plant, Glare.
Dex entry: Superior only fights seriously against strong foes who don't flinch under its piercing gaze.
Contrary, huh? Ito's face changed. Superior, Leaf Storm. Dylan gave the command with a calm, knowing smile.
Superior hissed softly, glowing with deep green light. Its tail leaves spread and grew larger, then a violent storm of leaves howled toward Snorlax.
Snorlax, sleep talk. Kukui's eyes twitched. Who opens with Leaf Storm? Everyone knew Leaf Storm was high risk, it massively reduced the user's special attack afterward. Unless, no. No way. Snorlax stirred, its fist catching fire mid-dream, it had pulled Fire Punch.
A great counter if it could reach Superior. But they were too far apart.
Boom! Leaf Storm slammed into Snorlax.
Even asleep, it let out a pained groan as the storm battered its enormous body.
Kukui didn't look at Snorlax.
His gaze was fixed on Superior. It still held its head high, eyes glowing with power.
White light surged around it. Contrary confirmed. Kukui's face darkened.
Contrary, ability that reverses stat changes.
Debuffs become buffs. That meant Leaf Storm didn't lower Superior's special attack. It raised it. Well done, Professor.
You saw through it immediately, Dylan said, clapping lightly.
Kukui gritted his teeth.
Yeah, he saw it, but seeing it didn't help.
Snorlax was asleep. He couldn't stop Superior from boosting again. Leaf Storm, again.
Superior hissed louder this time. Its leaves shimmered an even brighter green as another violent whirlwind tore across the battlefield.
Sleep talk. Kukui called again. Snorlax's body shimmered, and it let out a tremor earthquake. The ground split and quaked.
Leaf Storm hit first, Snorlax groaned, this one hurting much more than the last. Wind and leaves howled, debris scattered everywhere. The quake struck back, but Superior barely flinched. It resisted ground, and its defenses were solid. With the storm dying down, Superior glowed again. Its special attack was now +4. Snorlax finally stirred awake. It had tanked 2 full-power Leaf Storms, hurt but not down. Leaf Storm. Dylan ordered for the 3rd time. Dig. Kukui acted fast. Snorlax burrowed into the ground, disappearing just before the 3rd storm raged past. Not bad, Dylan chuckled. But hiding won't help for long, Professor Kukui. He was right. The best time to deal with Contrary Superior was at the very start. Let it get to +6 special attack? You're fighting a boss monster. There were counters. Haze could reset stat changes, but unlike the games, it wasn't guaranteed to hit. The move had to envelop Superior, and Superior could easily blow it away with Leaf Storm. At max power, Superior could obliterate most opponents before they even tried. Fast, tanky, and now fully armed, it was terrifying. "I'm well aware," Kukui said darkly. He understood now. Dylan's grass team wasn't just strong. Each member had a terrifying trick. None of them were normal. Except maybe that ape. That one seemed okay. Chapter 295, I don't want to battle you anymore, Dylan. This was getting troublesome. Kukui racked his brain for a way to deal with Dylan's Superior, but no matter how he sliced it, it was a headache. Soon enough, cracks spidered across the ground beneath Superior's coils. The moment it noticed, it leapt into the air with elegant ease. Snorlax burst out from underground dig mist. Leaf Storm. Superior's leafy tail glowed brightly with green energy. Return, Snorlax. Kukui recalled Snorlax in a flash. A beam of red light struck it mid-dig, pulling it back into the Pokeball. Seeing this, Superior let its charging Leaf Storm fizzle out, then returned to the ground, holding its noble head high, graceful and composed. Incineroar. Kukui was left with no choice but to throw out his ace. As expected, Dylan chuckled. You brought out Incineroar. Leaf Storm. Dylan didn't waste a second. Superior raised its tail, emerald light flared as a storm of razor-sharp leaves surged forward. Flare Blitz. Kukui's tone was heavy. Incineroar roared, its body cloaked in flames as it charged headlong into the incoming leaf storm. Boom! Fire and leaves collided in a spectacular clash of red and green. The energy shook the battlefield. The winds howled so violently no one could keep their eyes open. Normally, fire beats grass, and that kind of elemental advantage should show even during move clashes. So, in theory, Flare Blitz should have plowed through Leaf Storm, given Incineroar's power. But that's not what happened. Kukui's Incineroar, his pride and joy, was snarling with all its might, fighting to push back the storm. Dylan's Superior, already +4 in special attack, was using Leaf Storm. Even Incineroar couldn't take that head-on. So strong. Lily shielded her face from the gusts, peeking at the blinding light. But she wasn't talking about Superior. She meant Incineroar. To still hold its ground, this was the power of a true ace. Boom! The storm exploded. The shockwave rang in everyone's ears as Incineroar was blasted backward. Superior glowed again, its special attack reached the max. Now this thing's just broken. Itto clicked his tongue. Outside of Belly Drum, he'd never seen a Mon actually reach maxed out offensive stats mid-battle like this. With +6 special attack, even a basic move like Magical Leaf would one-shot anything without grass resistance. And Leaf Storm? That was just a laser beam of destruction. Incineroar. Kukui clenched his fist and gave his Pokémon a hand signal. Through the smoke, Incineroar let out a low growl but didn't emerge. Clear the field. Leaf Storm. Dylan snapped his fingers, calm, collected, in control. Superior raised its tail again. Another green hurricane tore through the air, devouring the battlefield. Flare Blitz. Kukui had no better option. Incineroar roared again and shot forward in a blaze. Boom! This time there was no contest. The maxed-out Leaf Storm shattered Flare Blitz mid-charge. The flames vanished, and Incineroar was swallowed by the gale. Its body tumbled through the air, twisting in pain. Then, puff! It vanished in a burst of white smoke. A substitute? Itto blinked. That made sense. During the earlier smokescreen, Incineroar must have quietly set one up. The Leaf Storm had only hit the decoy. The real Incineroar rushed forward from behind. Roar! Kukui barked the command. It was a gamble, a last-ditch effort to force Superior back into its Pokeball and reset its buffs. If he could get it off, he wouldn't have to deal with a fully boosted Serpent. Even if Dylan sent it back out later,
it'd be back to square one. You saw through it already, didn't you? Dylan said, that same warm, infuriating smile on his face. He had a look Kukui wanted to punch. He had a damn Incineroar too. Of course he'd seen through the ploy. He knew exactly what Roar would do. Leaf Storm. Superior's crimson eyes narrowed as it aimed at the charging Incineroar. Roar! Incineroar bellowed, the force of its shout tearing through the air. But Superior's storm was faster. Boom! The wind devoured the roar. Incineroar was swept up, its body slammed and shredded by the storm. The sky turned green from the sheer power. Dylan's team was literally casting a shadow over the entire battlefield. Thud! When the storm cleared, Incineroar lay battered and broken on the ground. It tried to lift its head, but couldn't. Still not down? Impressive stamina. Dylan looked genuinely surprised. This was a durable Pokemon, just like Blue-Green's Tyranitar. Some Pokemon simply refused to fall. Kukui. He said nothing. He looked at Incineroar struggling on the ground, sighed, and knew it was over. Magical Leaf. Superior fired a wave of multicolored leaves, finishing the job. Incineroar collapsed, eyes shut. Incineroar is unable to battle. Superior wins. Ito announced the result. And the rest of the battle? It didn't matter. Dylan's Superior, now fully powered, swept the rest of Kukui's weakened team, Snorlax and Sleeping Alolan Ninetales, clean off the field. Kukui had expected it. But it still hurt. Challenger Kukui's 5 Pokemon are unable to battle. Challenge failed. Victory goes to gym leader Dylan. Ito declared the outcome. TCH, that brat's gotten even stronger. Watching from the sidelines, Ito let out a low whistle. Compared to their last encounter at Meteor Falls, Dylan was clearly on another level now. Back then, he had to rely on Zinnia's ice weakness. This time? He steamrolled Kukui even against type disadvantages. No doubt about it, Dylan was stronger. You did great. You can rest now. Dylan walked onto the battlefield, gently patting Superior's head. Superior lifted its chin higher, eyes narrowing in pride. It was thrilled. That was a brilliant match, Professor Kukui. Your strength is undeniable. Dylan smiled as he walked up. Kukui almost gave him a look. Was that sarcasm? The battle had been anything but brilliant on his end. Still, it didn't seem like Dylan meant it that way. Forget it. I was off my game today, Kukui sighed. But damn, no wonder they call you the strongest gym leader in Kanto. He waved it off. Honestly, he wasn't too salty. Even if Dylan's Amoonguss and Whimsicott were trollish nightmares, Dylan had fought fair with his other two. Still, that contrary Superior is insane. I didn't even get to show you my Z move. Kukui sounded genuinely disappointed. He'd been saving a flashy Z move showcase. But with Incineroar nearly KO'd by one Leaf Storm, he never got the chance. Dylan just smiled. It's not the Superior, it's you. Most people couldn't train one to this level. Kukui nodded, thoughtful. Contrary plus Leaf Storm wasn't a secret combo. The counters were also obvious. Letting Superior max out its special attack was the real issue. He had the right idea with Substitute plus Roar. But Dylan was too well prepared. Just lucky, I guess. But I really enjoyed the battle today. Facing a top-tier trainer like you was a pleasure. Dylan's smile was as sunny as ever. You enjoyed it, huh? Well, I nearly swore off battling for a week, Kukui muttered, rubbing his temple. And I'm not battling you again anytime soon. Whimsicott had pushed him over the edge. Superior was just brutally strong. But Whimsicott? That was psychological warfare. Trickery, stalling, status effects, Kukui hated every second of it. And Dylan had the patience to use it all. Weren't battles supposed to be about strength? A clash of power and resolve? Why did it feel like one side was playing chess while the other was stuck in a net? Oh right. He's a gym leader. Of course he can get away with it. Still, Kukui thought to himself. Unless Dylan promised not to use that cursed Whimsicott again. He was out. Chapter 296, I'll be taking this badge. Professor Kukui, you really are a funny guy. Dylan couldn't help but laugh. Wasn't that just a bit dramatic?
He felt his battle style simply made clever use of his Pokémon strengths.
Whimsicott and Amoonguss were meant to be used this way. Who actually used Whimsicott and Amoonguss for standard battles anyway? Oh, most people in this world do? Well then, clearly those people are the weird ones.
By the way, Professor Kukui, as a reward for challenging the Rota Gym, please accept this Rota badge.
Dylan took out an ornate case and opened it, presenting it to Kukui.
Inside sat a beautifully crafted grass-type Rota badge.
This is your Rota badge? Kukui examined it with great interest.
Compared to the badges he'd received from other gyms in Kanto, this Rota badge was clearly of superior design and materials.
That's right. But I didn't defeat you. Kukui hesitated. Not only had he not won, he'd actually lost pretty badly. No matter. Defeating the gym leader isn't the only way to earn a badge. With your strength and potential, you've certainly earned this first Rota badge. The first one? So that means getting your other type badges will be even harder. Kukui blinked, then immediately understood. For example, since you managed to take down one of my main Pokémon today, you'd need to defeat at least 2 of them next time to earn a second Rota badge. Dylan smiled as he spoke. Wow, Dylan, not many people would dare say something like that.
Kukui felt like the world outside of Alola had changed too much. He was still technically champion level, after all. But from the way Dylan was talking, it sounded like defeating 2 of Dylan's ace Pokémon would be a huge challenge.
And, yeah, it probably was. In theory, grass types should be easy to counter, right? Kukui fell into deep thought.
If Dylan used types like Poison, Dark, or Ghost with that same battle style, anyone going up against him would probably want to tear their hair out.
I'll take this badge. And I will challenge you again, Dylan. Kukui finally accepted the badge and spoke sincerely. He was starting to think he should invest more effort into training his Pokémon. Maybe he'd give Dylan a real surprise next time.
I look forward to it, Dylan replied with a warm smile.
After the battle, everyone returned inside. As a thank you for helping develop the Rotom Pokédex, Ito gave Kukui a sizable sum of money. Kukui tried to refuse, but couldn't. For a company, a high-tech research expert like Kukui was invaluable. Even though Dylan already had Colress, recruiting Kukui was a huge win. After a hearty meal, Kukui said his goodbyes and left. You two didn't just come to Alola for a vacation, did you?
Ito lit a cigarette, crossed his legs, and looked leisurely at Dylan and Lily. He and Amelia had spent over a month traveling Hoenn, and Lily never once mentioned wanting to return to Alola.
So they came back by themselves. Compared to Kanto, Alola's natural beauty made it perfect for retirement.
They'd even decided to settle down here.
It's about Lily's family, Dylan shrugged. I'm sorry, godfather, godmother. I actually ran away from Ether Foundation. I'm sorry I kept it from you. Lily stood up and bowed deeply in apology. Ran away? Did Luzaman mistreat you? Ito wasn't surprised she was from the Ether Foundation.
He was more concerned about her use of the word ran away. We knew your background a long time ago, Lily.
You just didn't tell us, so you must have had your reasons.
Amelia gently pulled Lily down to sit beside her, patting her hand with a kind smile.
They weren't fools. Of course they investigated Lily's background after taking her in.
Turns out, she was the daughter of Luzaman, Ether Foundation's president.
A real-life fallen noblewoman.
But the reason for her fall from grace remained a mystery until now.
Its mother. She wanted to use Nebby to open an ultra wormhole.
Lily bit her lip, her big, clear eyes reddening slightly. She was clearly emotional, but far stronger than before.
Ultra wormhole?
Ito stroked his chin thoughtfully.
Amelia, however, looked completely lost. What's an ultra wormhole? Leaf also looked confused. It's a unique phenomenon in the Alola region.
It connects our world to ultra space.
Dylan offered an explanation.
Knowledge of ultra space was very limited in this world.
Like a parallel dimension? The group was stunned. Was this about to become a sci-fi story? You could say that.
You can also think of it as a parallel universe or subdimension.
But these days, there aren't many living beings left in ultraspace. Dylan nodded.
Ultraspace was actually a general term, it encompassed many different realms.
Like Nihilego Ultra Deep Sea, Guzzlord's Ultra Ruin, and Poipol's Ultra Megalopolis.
Only Ultra Megalopolis and Ultra Ruin were known to have human civilizations.
Ultra Megalopolis basically destroyed itself.
They stole Necrozma's light and sealed the weakened beast in a tower.
Without Necrozma, their world fell into darkness and ruin.
Today, the population of Ultra Megalopolis is nearly extinct.
Ultra Ruin was even worse, a polluted wasteland.
Toxic air, poisoned water. Its people had to wear hazmat suits and use purification systems to survive. Eventually, they migrated to another planet.
Guzzlord remained in the ruins, where it's known as the Glutton.
So aliens really do exist.
Ito was fascinated.
They do, and their technology is far more advanced than ours.
Dylan agreed.
It was fair to call the people of Ultra Megalopolis and Ultra Ruin aliens. Their tech was far superior.
The Ultra Recon Squad could ride space between dimensions.
And the Ultra Ruin people had already performed interplanetary migration.
So what's the problem with opening an Ultra wormhole? Amelia asked. There's a big problem. Dad, do you know why Alola never formed a Pokemon League?
I never looked into it, Ito shrugged.
Politics weren't his thing. It's because of the Ultra Beasts from Ultra Space. Dylan got straight to the point.
Ultra Beasts are Pokemon from Ultra Space. They have dangerous instincts and pose a threat to ordinary people. 10 years ago, the Pokemon League sent the International Police to Alola to investigate Guzzlord, and someone died on that mission. With so many unknowns, the League wasn't about to set up shop here. Dylan continued, mentioning how Annabelle was found unconscious on a beach by Looker and Nanu after the Guzzlord incident. She'd lost all her memories except her name.
Yes, the same Annabelle Dylan had met at the Battle Pyramid, Frontier Brain and part-time International Police.
According to the games, no one knew if Annabelle was originally from this world or from Ultra Space. She fell through an Ultra wormhole.
She ended up working under Looker. Eventually, she was promoted and became his boss.
Yup. Looker literally found his future boss washed up on a beach.
I see. But Dylan, how do you know all this? Ito was amazed. Read more. Talk more. Ask more questions. Dylan shrugged. Ito rolled his eyes. What a load of crap.
But whatever, Dylan was smart.
He'd figure it out. So you're here to help Lily confront her mother, Luzaman? That woman's tough, but not impossible. Need help? Ito didn't think much of the Ether Foundation.
Sure, they ruled Alola, but only locally. Besides, he was now the head of the Sylph Company.
That's right.
After Giovanni led Team Rocket to take over Sylpha's headquarters, many shareholders sold their stock under pressure.
Dylan and Giovanni bought most of it.
That left Ito, already the biggest shareholder, in charge.
Now, the only other shareholders were the president, Dylan, and Giovanni. Sure, a dragon doesn't trample local snakes. But if Luzaman really abused Lily, Ito wouldn't mind crushing her a bit. No need. Tomorrow, Lily and I will pay a visit to Ether Paradise. Dylan said casually. He'd never seen Ether as a real threat.
They might be a major player in Alola, but they were still just big fish in a small pond. Even back when Dylan first came to Alola, he could have taken Ether down without breaking a sweat. Just like Sylph crumbled before Team Rocket, Ether couldn't stand against someone like him. Luzman was strong, sure, a high-tier trainer. But Dylan could take her out with ease.
Alright then. Just be careful. Ito could hear the confidence in Dylan's voice. After some more small talk, Dylan took Lily and Leaf out to explore Hawali City. It was Leaf's first time in Alola, and she found it fascinating. The next morning, after breakfast, the three of them flew to Ether Paradise atop the White Dragon Reshiram. Ether Paradise was the Ether Foundation's HQ, the fifth island of Alola, an artificial island. Clearly, the Foundation had immense wealth and influence. To be fair, Luzman was undeniably capable. She'd turned Ether from obscurity into a major power. But Dylan was also thinking. If things were like in the games, Luzman had done some things the League would never approve of. Especially her collection room, where she kept live Pokémon frozen as trophies. If that ever got out. If the League, especially Lance and Kores, found out. Ether Paradise would be wiped clean. So if he really found that cold storage room, could he use it to blackmail Luzman into working for him? What's that saying again? Ma'am, you wouldn't want your little secret getting out, would you? Chapter 297, I'll take you there. Ether Paradise. A massive floating structure on the sea, housing the Ether Foundation's core research facilities. It was an artificial island located in the central region of Alola. Roar. With a resonant dragon cry, the White Dragon Reshiram landed heavily on the dock of Ether Paradise. Young Mississippi. As Dylan, Lily, and Leaf dismounted from Reshiram, a woman with fluffy, deep purple short hair approached them, greeting Lily with a warm smile. Wick. Lily pursed her lips slightly at the sight of the full-figured woman. This was Wick, one of the Ether Foundation's top executives and deputy director. Compared to Faba, Lily had a much better impression of Wick, who had always been gentle and kind. No need to say anything, young Mississippi. I can tell you've changed a lot. Wick's smile remained warm. It was clear that, compared to the day Lily fled, her eyes now held much more resolve. You two must be Miss Lily's friends. Thank you so much for looking after her. No need for thanks. Please take us to see President Luzman. Dylan replied with a polite smile. Right this way, please. Wick gave Dylan a glance before turning and motioning for them to follow her into Ether Paradise, toward Luzman's residence. Ever since the young miss left, the president has never stopped looking for her. But we've had no leads until now. As she led the way, Wick spoke gently. I'm sure she'll be very happy to see you again today. But Lily's delicate face showed no joy at reuniting with her mother, only unease. Leaf, meanwhile, was curiously looking around. Ether Paradise was fascinating to her. And it confirmed without a doubt, Lily really was a young miss. At first, she had heard Lily was adopted by Dylan's family. She'd thought Lily was lucky. After all, no one in Dylan's family was ordinary. His father was a major shareholder of Sylph Company, his mother was from the Draconid tribe, and Dylan himself, well, he was a monster. But now it seemed Lily wasn't so simple either. As the daughter of Ether Foundation's president, she was undeniably from one of the top families in Alola. Still, Leaf glanced at Lily. The closer they got to the residence, the more tense Lily seemed, her slender frame visibly stiffened. You may go in now, young miss. The president is waiting for you. They stopped at the door to Luzman's estate. Wick spoke softly. Lily stared at the lavish mansion, taking silent, deep breaths. Ever since her father had disappeared years ago, her mother's love had grown increasingly twisted, and so had her fear of Luzman. She had tried to run away with Nebby, only to be discovered. Had Nebby not used teleport that day, she wouldn't have escaped. And after that, her fear only deepened. She knew just how angry Luzman must be. Lily reached out to push open the door, but her hand trembled noticeably. Then a warm hand gently wrapped around hers. Brother? Lily froze and looked to her side. Don't be afraid, Dylan said with a gentle smile. I told you, no matter what happens, I'll always be behind you, even if it's your mother. You know who your brother is. There's no one in this world who can stand against me. No one. Stand tall, Lily. Only by facing your fear can you overcome it. Besides, you are mother and daughter. This confrontation was inevitable. He gently ruffled her hair. Lily bit her lip. Warmth flooded her chest. The comforting grip of his hand gave her a deep sense of safety. She nodded firmly, took a deep breath, and pushed the door open. Yes. There was nothing to be afraid of. She wasn't alone anymore, she had a brother she could rely on. Inside the lavish mansion, a spacious lounge came into view. Sitting on the sofa, a blonde woman was calmly sipping tea. Leaf's eyes lit up with surprise when she saw Luzaman. The president of the Ether Foundation had the same radiant golden hair as Lily. Her skin was porcelain white, and she wore a sleek platinum-colored dress with black and white leggings. She exuded grace and nobility, not surprising for the woman who had elevated the Ether Foundation to prominence in under 10 years. What did surprise Leaf, however, was how young Luzaman looked. If she didn't know Luzaman was Lily's mother, she might have thought the woman was in her 20s. Mother. Brought friends too? Sit. Luzaman spoke calmly. Even though she had steeled herself, Lily was still visibly nervous in her mother's presence. She clutched Dylan's hand tightly. The three of them sat across from Luzaman. Would you like some tea? Luzaman's expression remained neutral. Her gaze swept over Dylan and Leaf before settling on Lily and particularly, her hand in Dylan's. Lily shook her head. Then let's get to the point. My daughter, who betrayed me, what brings you back today? Luzaman crossed her legs and stared coldly at Lily. The chill in her voice made Lily tremble. I didn't betray you. Oh? A cold smirk touched Luzaman's lips. How heartless of you. You know how important Cosmic is to me, and yet you took it. The light in Luzaman's eyes dimmed, becoming hollow and terrifying. She had loved Lily and Gladion deeply. Even now, she did. But she hadn't expected both of them to turn against her. She needed Cosmic to open the Ultra wormhole, and Lily stole it. She needed the Ultra Beast Killer, type Null, to fight the beasts, and Gladion took it. To Luzaman, this was betrayal. And the ones who betrayed her were her beloved children. But that was wrong. Lily couldn't hold back anymore. She looked up and raised her voice. I told you so many times. Father disappeared because of this research. Why must you continue with this plan? Don't you see? You've changed. The mother I knew wasn't like this. Why can't you respect our feelings? What if opening ultraspace causes chaos in Alola? Her words came out in a rush, as if she were finally releasing years of bottled-up emotion. Luzaman's eyes regained their light. She stared hard at Lily, her chest heaving. But Lily didn't flinch. She met her mother's gaze head-on. Well, it seems my once weak and timid daughter has changed a lot. Is it because of you too? Luzaman's gaze turned to Dylan. Lily had never dared speak to her like this before. Luzaman's emotions were mixed. A part of her was proud that Lily could finally speak her mind, but another part was furious at her disobedience. In Luzaman's mind, children should just listen to their parents. I'm Dylan. From the Kanto region, he said gently. I think I understand what you're after, President Luzaman. You want to open ultraspace? That's right. I've prepared everything. Cosmic is essential. Luzaman spoke flatly. Ultraspace is incredibly dangerous. With all due respect, you're really planning to go in there at just Elite 4 level? Dylan raised an eyebrow. To be fair, Luzaman was strong. An Elite 4 level trainer in this world was no pushover. But ultraspace belonged to the Ultra Beasts. In this world, they were rare, but in ultraspace, they were the norm. Every Ultra Beast was extremely powerful. Not even champions could guarantee survival. What are you implying? Luzaman's expression changed. Entering is easy. Making it back alive is another story. Dylan sighed lightly. Luzaman's face darkened. Was this brat looking down on her? How about this, President Luzaman, on Lily's behalf, I'll take you to ultraspace. Dylan had thought it over. Unless he helped Luzaman resolve this obsession, she'd never stop. And she was, after all, Lily's mother. You? Luzaman blinked, frowning slightly. He didn't look much older than Lily, but there was definitely something different about him. Mother, my brother is a very strong champion-level trainer, Lily said softly. Champion level? Luzaman's expression flickered. In all of Alola, only Kukui had reached champion level. That said a lot. And she knew Lily well enough. Despite her timid nature, Lily never lied. Entering ultraspace requires Cosmig's power. Still, having a champion as an escort was better than her original plan, bringing Guzma. Not necessary. Nebi's still young and its power is unstable, Dylan shook his head. Cosmig could open wormholes, but it was immature and couldn't control the ability well. If you're ready, we can leave any time. With Necrozma or Lunala, opening ultraspace was trivial for Dylan. You're really going to help me? Luzaman's pupils dimmed again, a telltale sign of her obsessive tendencies. Lily is my sister. This whole thing is weighing on her. So why not take you there? Dylan shrugged. Luzaman's obsession with ultra beasts was the root of her twisted behavior. If he could help her let go, she might return to normal. And once she did, Lily could finally find peace. Give me a moment. Luzaman paused, cast a complicated glance at Lily, then stood and left to prepare. Thank you, brother. As soon as Luzaman was gone, Lily bit her lip and looked at Dylan with gratitude. No need for thanks between family. When we get back, have a proper talk with her. Be brave, tell her how you feel. I can tell, she really does care about you. Dylan smiled. The good news was, Luzaman truly loved Lily. That love had become warped by obsession, but it was real. If he could help her release that obsession and let mother and daughter reconnect, everything would be fine. In Dylan's eyes, this family issue wasn't anything complicated. The solution was easy. We'll deal with it when we return. He glanced deeper into the mansion. Once they came back from ultraspace, he'd pay a visit to Luzaman's collection room. Ultraspace. A pitch-black world. A green-haired man in luxurious robes was walking across the barren landscape. What a miserable world. You can't even see the sun. He stopped and looked up at the dark sky. This was about as bad as it could get. It should be daytime. He was sure it was daytime when he left his world. Why was I the one sent here first? That bastard. His face darkened at the thought of the buzzcut man who had sent him here. But that was fine. Pretending and manipulating was his specialty. Compared to heartless monsters, humans were far easier to control, especially the naive ones. Or so he believed. Chapter 298, Ultra Beast. In front of Luzaman's mansion. Since we're all ready, let's go. Dylan looked at the three people behind him, Luzaman, Lily, and Leaf. Hurry up, hurry up. I can't wait. Leaf was practically bouncing with excitement. This was a parallel world, after all, she was beyond curious. Lunala. With a small smile, Dylan enlarged a pokeball in his hand and released a majestic bat-like creature, Lunala. As Lunala let out a high-pitched cry, a net-like ultra wormhole slowly formed above them. This was an ultra wormhole, an unstable passage connecting the Pokemon world and ultraspace. While Cosmig couldn't open one stably, Lunala, Solgaleo, and Necrozma could freely tear them open. At the sight of the ultra wormhole, the light faded from Luzaman's eyes again. That was it. That was the wormhole. White Dragon. Dylan released another Pokeball, summoning Reshiram. The group of four riding Lunala and Reshiram entered the ultra wormhole.
As their figures vanished, the portal slowly closed behind them. In the middle of a vast desert, the Ultra wormhole opened, and Reshiram and Lunala emerged. Ultra desert, huh? Dylan, seated on Reshiram, scanned the horizon. All he could see was an endless sea of sand. Stone pillars stood tall, caves dotted the terrain, and sky-blue crystals protruded from some of the rocks. This was one of the many Ultra spaces, Ultra desert. Whoa, this desert is endless. I can't see where it ends at all. Seated behind Dylan, Leaf clicked her tongue. So this was an alternate world? It was hard to imagine anyone surviving in a place like this. That's how Ultra desert is. Let's look around. We didn't come all this way for nothing. Dylan had already arranged with Lunala to visit Ultra Megalopolis last. This time, just like in Zero Lab, his goal was to catch a few of each Ultra beast to avoid extra trips later. So much simpler that way. Okay. Lunala and Reshiram flew low across Ultra desert. The flight wasn't particularly fast, but thanks to the stone pillars, caves, and glowing crystals, the view wasn't boring. And before long, a striking creature atop a stone pillar came into view. What's that? Leaf's eyes sparkled. To her, this Pokemon looked stunning, elegant, and cool in equal measure. Its humanoid form was slender and milky white, crowned with a tiara-like headpiece, 2 long antennae, and flowing white hair that resembled a bridal veil. Beep Pheromosa, Bug/Fighting type. Beauty Pokemon. Ability, Beast Boost. Moves, Speed Swap, Bounce, Lunge, Stomp, Triple Kick, Feint, Low Sweep. Entry, one of the Ultra Beasts. It may find all things in this world filthy, and thus refuses to touch anything with its hands. Rotom Dex hovered beside them, dutifully reciting the Pokemon's data, though it was clearly trembling behind Dylan. UB02, Beauty. That's its code name. It's said to be a highly arrogant and conceited Ultra Beast. Luzamon's gaze was burning with intensity. The Ether Foundation had been secretly collecting Ultra Beast data for years. In Alola, there was no one more knowledgeable on Ultra Beasts than her. We're pretty lucky, Dylan said with a slight smile. We just got here and already found a Pheromosa. He had a feeling this Ultra space trip was going to be very fruitful. Pharaoh. The Pheromosa stared warily at Lunala and Reshiram in the air, its body tense with alertness. Ultra beasts were extreme in both ability and instinct, that's what made them dangerous. Like Nihilego parasitism, Guzzlord's gluttony, and Pheromosa's arrogance. But this one was different. Its instincts screamed that the 2 flying Pokemon were terrifying. Reshiram, Flamethrower. Dylan patted Reshiram's neck and gave a calm command. A fierce crimson flame built in Reshiram's mouth, then surged forth, a fire-type flamethrower. Pharaoh. Pheromosa leapt away in a flash, hopping to another stone pillar and shrieking in warning. Its cry was answered by clouds of sand rising in the distance. As the dust cleared, several more Pheromosa appeared. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 Pheromosa. Not bad. Dylan counted and nodded in satisfaction. This saved him from having to go search for them. The 7 Pheromosa glared at Dylan's group. Clearly, they weren't thrilled about the uninvited guests. No need to be angry. We'll be spending lots of time together from now on. Dylan's voice was warm. And then, they all got flattened. They didn't stand a chance against Reshiram. You take this one. It's at Elite 4 level now, but its potential is excellent. Dylan picked one and handed the Pokeball to Leaf. Hee, are you sure I can take this? Leaf's smile was dazzling. Her words were polite, but her hand said otherwise. She snatched the ball instantly. It contained a Pheromosa, and she was absolutely delighted. Its appearance suited her tastes perfectly, beautiful, noble, and totally worthy of a cute girl like her. And this one is for you, President Luzamon. Dylan selected another, slightly weaker, but with solid potential, and offered it to Luzamon. Thank you. Luzamon accepted the Pokeball coolly, though her eyes gleamed with joy. An Ultra Beast. She finally had one of her own.
They're everywhere. No need to thank me. Dylan shrugged and casually caught 2 more before heading off to look for additional Pheromosa. This ultra-desert world didn't have much else, but it had plenty of Pheromosa. Time passed quickly.
In a pitch-black cave world, crystalline and coral-like formations lined the walls, creating a haunting undersea atmosphere.
This was ultra-deep sea, home to Nihilego.
There's way too many of them.
Leaf stared at the countless white jellyfish floating around in awe.
They stood in an open clearing, completely surrounded above and below by dozens of Nihilego.
Deep Nihilego, rock/poison type. Parasite Pokemon. Ability, Beast Boost. Moves:
Mirror Coat, Stealth Rock, Power Gem, Toxic Spikes, Venoshock, Guard Split.
Entry, one of the Ultra Beasts. It's unclear whether it possesses independent consciousness, though it sometimes displays gestures reminiscent of a young girl. Rotom Dex chirped helpfully, albeit while trembling behind Dylan.
Brother.
Lily pressed close to Dylan, eyes wide and scalp tingling. Nihilego really are sensitive to life energy. Then again, they're parasites.
Stay alert, don't let them sneak up on you. Dylan, calm and composed, studied the floating jellyfish with interest. They resembled translucent bells, ringed with white hexagonal markings.
Their gelatinous tendrils waved like eerie arms, almost feminine in motion. Luzamon's eyes blazed. Nihilego. Her greatest obsession. Lunala, psychic. Dylan smiled slightly and gave the command. Lunala's eyes gleamed blue. With a beat of its wings, a rainbow-hued wave of psychic force burst forth. Psychic-type move, Psychic.
The surrounding Nihilego were blasted from the air like falling dumplings.
Psychic was super effective against poison types. These wild Nihilego didn't stand a chance. Some remained conscious but were heavily injured. But then... Mother!
Lily screamed in panic.
Dylan turned and saw it. A Nihilego had spread its bell over Luzamon's head. Mother! Don't come any closer, Lily.
Though her face remained visible beneath the jellyfish's bell, Luzamon called out to stop her daughter.
Her features twisted in pain as the Nihilego's translucent bell began secreting black-purple poison.
It slowly lifted her off the ground.
As a parasitic species, Nihilego was especially fond of attaching to humans. Brother! Lily was frantic, looking to Dylan with pleading eyes. Don't worry. I'm here. Nothing's going to happen.
He calmly reassured her and turned his gaze to the Nihilego, his eyes narrowing.
Luzamon must have gotten too close, unable to resist her obsession, and approached one of the injured Nihilego.
That's how it managed to latch onto her.
Dylan sighed. It wasn't like he wouldn't have given her one anyway.
Still, perhaps he should thank her.
Because now, the Nihilego clutching Luzamon was mutating, its body swelling and pulsating with eerie purple-black energy. Yee!
With a guttural hiss, a transformed black Nihilego emerged.
Wait, it can evolve? Leaf stared in shock at the now giant jellyfish.
Normal Nihilego were white, and they were everywhere down below.
But this one was different. It was massive, easily over 3.5 meters, at least twice the normal size.
Its base color had turned black, and Luzamon's body was still visible inside its dome, her golden hair stained purple-black. Even more disturbing were its tentacles, 8 enormous limbs tipped with sharp spikes and blinking eyes. One eye on each tentacle, all glaring viciously at Dylan's group.
This was parasitic form, Nihilego. No, it's not evolution. More like a form change, right? Dylan observed it with fascination.
In the games, this form didn't have its own stats, it only appeared in story scenes. But in the anime, it fought directly, and was terrifyingly strong.
If not for Salgalio's help, Ash and the others couldn't have handled it.
So rather than an evolution, it was a parasitic transformation.
Lunala! Dylan called. Lunala floated closer, calmly facing the black Nihilego. I like you. If you can hold that form after battle, you'll be one of my mains. Dylan took out a premier ball and looked up at the creature. But first, let her go. Yee yee yee. The black Nihilego shrieked. Its tentacles lashed forward, summoning massive purple boulders. Rock slide? But Nihilego shouldn't even learn that move. Psychic. Dylan raised a brow. Lunala swept its wings, sending another wave of rainbow psychic force. It shattered the falling boulders and smashed into the black Nihilego.
The creature screeched in pain, then was caught by Lunala's psychic control.
Luzaman was forcibly separated and lowered safely to the ground. Mother!
Lily rushed over, ignoring the toxic sludge, cradling Luzaman as she wept with joy. Her golden hair re-emerged beneath the dark slime.
Lily!
Luzaman stirred and opened her eyes, gazing up at her daughter's tearful face.
Thank goodness.
You're okay.
Lily sobbed with relief.
She'd never been so scared in her life.
Lily!
Luzaman blinked, touched by her daughter's love, and gently cupped her cheek.
In that moment, their hearts reconnected. Meanwhile, with its host removed, the black Nihilego weakened.
Still restrained by Lunala, it crashed to the ground.
If I remember right, in the anime it didn't revert even after being defeated. Dylan approached the creature, studying it.
Then he tossed the premier ball. Compared to the regular Nihilego he'd caught earlier, this one was clearly on a different level and far more intriguing. None of the others were Lily, after all.
But one black Nihilego? That was enough.
Yes, Shiny Nihilego, also known as Shiny Lily.
Chapter 299, Team Rainbow Rocket. Ding!
With a crisp chime, the premier ball clicked shut. Black Nihilego was caught.
How's she doing, Lily?
After securing the black Nihilego and instructing Lunala to clean up the remaining conscious ones, Dylan crouched beside Lily and Luzaman.
She's okay, just a little weak. Let's take a break then. Leaf, get the tent and some water. Help Luzaman clean herself up. Dylan supported Luzaman as he spoke.
They'd come well prepared with supplies, just in case. The residue from the Nihilego's toxin probably wasn't dangerous, but better to wash it off quickly. After all, unlike in the original game, where Luzaman was parasitized for a long time and left with lasting damage, this time, it had only been a few minutes.
She would recover just fine. Got it, Leaf nodded. Here, some water. Dylan held out a clean bottle to Luzaman. Thank you, Dylan. After drinking and resting a little, Luzaman expressed her sincere gratitude.
She had narrowly escaped disaster. The journey from Ultra Desert had felt smooth only because Dylan was overwhelmingly strong, not because the Ultra Beasts were weak. And of course, he'd even captured Lunala, the fabled beast that summons the moon of Alola.
No need to thank me.
I said it before, I'm helping you because you're Lily's mother.
Dylan shook his head. I'm going to check the remaining Nihilego.
Lily, take care of Luzaman. Okay, be careful, big brother.
Lily nodded firmly. Dylan walked off to inspect the unconscious Nihilego, selecting a few with promising potential.
They'd be useful later, whether for his apprentices like Celine, or others.
He's remarkable. I never imagined Lily had such good taste. Luzaman watched Dylan's retreating figure with a rare smile and glanced teasingly at her daughter.
The events that had just unfolded had made her realize clearly Lily was the most important person in her life. But still, what luck her daughter had to run off and bring back such a gifted young man.
And calling him big brother this often? Were young people this bold nowadays?
Ha!
No, it's not like that, Mother. You've misunderstood.
Lily panicked, her fair face turning redder by the second.
Oh?
But if you're just friends, why so flustered?
I can tell Dylan cares about you. Luzaman chuckled. Her daughter was still a bit naive, but she knew Lily well. Lily, let me tell you, men are easy to find, but one like Dylan? Rare. And you clearly like him, don't you?
She'd seen the way Lily clung to his hand earlier, something she had never done with anyone else.
That's not it. He's my foster brother. Lily pouted, her thoughts in disarray. Still, she lowered her head and began to explain. She told her mother how, after fleeing Ether Paradise, she had met Mr. Ito and Amelia, how they had taken her in, and how she'd met Dylan. She didn't share everything, but wanted to clarify their relationship first and foremost. I see, then I must thank Mr. Ito and his wife properly. Luzman caressed her daughter's cheek, still marveling at Lily's incredible luck. Taken in by kind people and their son just so happened to be a young champion? Was her daughter some kind of protagonist? Before long, Dylan returned, having caught a few more Nihilego. After resting a bit longer in Ultra Deep Sea, the group moved on to their final destination. Ultra Megalopolis. This place is pitch black. Leaf clung to Dylan's waist atop Reshiram, squinting into the distance. She couldn't see a single glimmer of light. This world lost its source of light. Dylan scanned the surroundings, but the darkness made it hard to locate anything. There's no sun here? No sun. Do you know why, big brother? Lily asked, curious, wasn't this Dylan's first time in ultra space too? This world was once peaceful, bathed in light, thanks to Necrozma's blessing. Lunala and Reshiram flew slowly forward. They couldn't just hover in place forever. Necrozma? Lily blinked in surprise. Yes. Necrozma, but not the one I have. Dylan nodded, then shook his head. The people of this world called Necrozma the Blinding One because its radiant light once powered this entire world. Lily's eyes flickered in recognition. Of everyone here, she alone knew what Necrozma truly looked like. The ultra form was indeed blinding. Though regular Necrozma could drain light too, it had once drained all of Unova's light, after all. But the ancient people of Ultra Megalopolis weren't satisfied. They stole Necrozma's light, its very essence. Stripped of it, Necrozma went mad in pain and lashed out. To subdue it, they built the Megalopolis Tower using their advanced technology to imprison Necrozma. But without Necrozma, the world was plunged into darkness. What you're seeing now is the result. Dylan's voice held both scorn and pity. Human greed at its finest. Necrozma had chosen to share its light. That should have been enough. But they weren't content. And now? Without Necrozma, the world began dying. Without light, life couldn't survive. At this point, how many still lived in this once great civilization? Even their skin had changed, sickly and pale from a lifetime without sunlight. They looked like mutants. Now, only the Megalopolis Tower remained as a beacon. It was the only thing keeping them alive. Death and despair, that's the theme of this world. Tragic, really. Luzman stared down at the desolate land. The absence of sunlight had clearly doomed it. They brought it on themselves, Leaf muttered. Poor Necrozma, Lily murmured, heart-aching. It had given them light and been betrayed. She couldn't help but feel compassion for the creature. Dylan agreed. Even a legendary Pokemon can't always withstand the darkness in human hearts. The games never explained how the ancients stole Necrozma's light, but Dylan wasn't surprised. Pokemon science was absurdly advanced, and this world's tech surpassed even that. The Megalopolis Tower was the only remaining light source. Without it, the people here would have perished long ago. But even with it, they were barely holding on. Their ancestors had created this mess, but it was their descendants who suffered. Just then, Lunala and Reshiram came to a sudden stop. Especially Reshiram, who stared intently ahead. Something's wrong, Dylan. The white dragon's telepathic voice carried unease. What do you mean? Dylan raised an eyebrow. I sense Zekram's energy, but something's off. Dylan, this isn't right. As sibling dragons born of one origin, Reshiram could easily sense Zekram. But this signature, it was both familiar and strange. That made Reshiram uneasy. Oh? Dylan paused, then a thought crossed his mind. His eyes gleamed. He knew from Alder that Zekram was currently with Lance. And Lance wouldn't be here in Ultra Megalopolis. Which meant this Zekram could only be Can you tell where it is?
Straight ahead. Wait, closer.
It's flying this way. Reshiram lifted its head. That odd Zekrom was coming toward them. Let's go meet it. Dylan grinned. Sure. Reshiram didn't hesitate. Please, a weird Zekrom? No big deal. Didn't Dylan already have a whole army of dragons?
The only reason it had paused earlier was the strange signature.
Soon enough, a black dragon crackling with blue lightning came into view. Against the dark sky, its silhouette blended into the gloom, but the crimson eyes and sparking aura were unmistakable. Reshiram? So this world's hero of truth has appeared too, huh? A calm male voice drifted up from below. Dylan looked down and saw a middle-aged man in extravagant green robes.
With that outfit and green hair, there was no mistaking it.
Getsis. Huh? Isn't that the guy from Team Plasma? Lily gasped, immediately recognizing him. Getsis was hard to forget. Oh?
Seems you're familiar with the version of me from this world.
Why don't you come down for a chat?
Getsis raised his head, smiling serenely like a wise sage who had everything under control.
Wait, the version of me from this world? Yup. Dylan's eyes narrowed.
This was Rainbow Getsis. The original Getsis had no reason to be in ultraspace or to have Zekrom.
But Rainbow Getsis? That made sense.
Dylan had suspected Team Rainbow Rocket would show up eventually. After all, even Celine was already around. But he hadn't expected them so soon.
And just Getsis?
That differed from the games, where all the bosses invaded at once.
Land.
Dylan signaled Reshiram to descend.
Well, what a coincidence.
The first locals I meet in this world happen to include the hero of truth.
Looks like even in this universe, truth and ideals are drawn to one another. Rainbow Getsis's voice was magnetic and calm, far more charismatic than the original. It made sense, he had conquered his own world, after all. So, young man, can you tell me what happened to this world's version of me? Getsis was clearly curious. He's probably still rotting in jail. Might be there for life. Dylan shrugged. What? The smile on Rainbow Getsis's face froze. Seriously? His alternate self got locked up? How embarrassing. Chapter 300, just for show?
Team Rainbow Rocket, the most powerful villain organization in the history of Pokémon, debuting in Ultra Sun and Moon. It united the bosses of every past evil team, all of whom had realized their ambitions in their own worlds. Simply put, every one of Team Rainbow Rocket's officers was the strongest of their respective realities, no exaggeration. What a disappointment, the version of me in this world. Rainbow Getsis quickly calmed himself and spoke with a cool tone. But it didn't matter. Now he was here. So, you should know the way out of this dark void, right? Rainbow Getsis turned toward Dylan, the one chosen by the real White Dragon. That piqued his interest. Of course, the priority now was escaping this place of endless darkness. That lunatic had really gone too far, sending him here of all places. He'd wandered for a long time, but hadn't found any way out. Of course I do. But, Mr. Getsis, shouldn't you introduce yourself first? Where exactly are you from? Dylan examined Rainbow Getsis with genuine curiosity. As you can see, I am Getsis. But unlike the failure from your world, I achieved my ideals, I liberated every Pokémon on the planet. But do you know what I realized? Rainbow Getsis smiled proudly. When a dream is fulfilled, it doesn't always fill the emptiness inside. He walked forward slowly, speaking with poise. I pondered it for a long time. Then one day, someone came to me. He said he could send me to another world, and that's when I finally found my answer. A flicker of wariness passed through Rainbow Getsis's eyes. That man, the rocket boss, was evil incarnate. But no matter. Rainbow Getsis believed he would be the one to laugh last. To travel across worlds and liberate Pokémon from human control, that's my true ideal. Rainbow Getsus spread his arms wide, ambition heavy in his voice.
Why stop at one world? He would liberate all of them. For that, he really did owe that rocket boss a thank you. Brilliant idea. Liberate Pokemon, huh? Mr. Getsus, you might want to watch what you say. The guy with your name already ended up in prison for talking like that. Dylan snorted.
Head, don't lump me in with that failure, friend.
You are the one chosen by truth, Rainbow Getsus replied without a hint of anger.
In fact, he looked down on the Getsus of this world now. Same name, different people, he understood that clearly. You're a special case. So you should know how to read the situation.
I'm just the first to arrive. Understand?
His calm and composed manner exuded confidence. Tell me how to leave this place.
Once the rest of our organization arrives, perhaps you can join us too.
Rainbow Getsus wasn't a fan of senseless violence. He fancied himself a man of intellect.
In fact, if he could use Rainbow Giovanni as a figurehead king, he could stand atop the whole multiverse.
A single world isn't where we stop, young man.
Don't throw your life away.
His tone was that of a persuasive elder, but his arrogance was unmistakable.
Lily and Leaf exchanged glances, their expressions turning odd as they looked at this self-important Getsus. Oh? Dylan raised an eyebrow. And what if I choose not to bring you out of here? Then you're defying me? Defying someone who commands Zekrom?
Rainbow Getsus said flatly.
Young man, even Reshiram is not invincible. My Zekrom has already defeated one before.
He didn't think he was wrong, he was a king who'd conquered his world.
What was a mere Reshiram to him? Lily.
She nearly burst out laughing.
Why did that line sound so familiar?
Oh right, her big brother had said the exact same kind of thing more than once.
I see. Dylan narrowed his eyes, grinning like a fox. Then how about this? He opened another pokeball.
A shining Mutwo appeared in front of him, hovering in the air, its eyes radiating a vast and chilling psychic power as it stared down Rainbow Getsus.
Mutwo?
Rainbow Getsus's expression shifted.
He knew this Pokemon.
It was Mutwo, the Pokemon that followed that man. He'd never forgotten the suffocating darkness of that man's aura, Mutwo at his side.
But after a moment, Rainbow Getsus relaxed. This wasn't the same one.
That Mutwo had been black and radiated an oppressive, terrifying pressure far stronger than this one.
Ah, so he does know Rainbow Giovanni, Dylan instantly understood.
According to Ultra Sun and Moon, all the Rainbow Rocket members except Giovanni had been summoned from their worlds. Whether they truly followed him or not, they still acted under his orders. But this Getsus had arrived alone.
That was already unusual. And now it was clear he'd met Giovanni already. Alright then, Mr. Getsus, I've got a lot of questions for you. But this isn't the place to ask them. First I need to get you out of here.
Dylan had no interest in chatting about useless philosophy with someone trying to invade his world.
Did Getsus not realize this world was under his protection? But before that, let's make sure you calm down a bit. Dylan's grin widened.
Rainbow Getsus's expression changed. He had full confidence that his Zekrom could beat Reshiram.
But adding a Mutwo into the mix? Now that was a problem. Even if it wasn't as terrifying as that black Mutwo, it was still monstrously powerful. Mutwo.
Shiny Mutwo's body flashed with light and instantly transformed into its Mega Y form.
Psystrike. Its eyes blazed with an eerie blue glow as it raised one arm and pointed it at Zekrom in the sky.
Massive, intangible psychic energy gathered like a vast ocean, slowly forming into a tremendous sphere of force. The air went still, only the crushing psychic pressure surged.
Zekrom. Rainbow Getsus's face darkened. Zekrom let out a roar. The turbine on its tail lit up with a brilliant blue glow. Its signature move, Bolt Strike.
Electric energy crackled and swirled, forming a massive ring of lightning.
Mutwo Wise Eyes flared as it thrust its arm forward. Boom! The Psi Strike smashed into Zekrum's Bolt Strike, and earth-shaking explosion followed. Hurricane-force shockwaves blasted outward as pure psychic energy clashed with thunder. The entire dark sky lit up in waves of blue. The blast was so intense that even Reshiram and Lunala had to retreat a safe distance just to stay balanced. How terrifying!
Luzumon clutched Lily, her eyes wide with shock as she stared at the chaotic sky.
Was Dylan really this strong? As seconds passed, everyone could clearly see Psi Strike was slowly overpowering the electric ring of Bolt Strike. Mutwo Y's hand twisted into a fist. Psi Strike shattered through the lightning and enveloped Zekrom completely. Boom! An earth-shaking explosion erupted again.
The world was lit by endless waves of psychic energy as Zekrom writhed in agony at the center.
It hurt. It hurt so much. Rainbow Getsus's face twisted in disbelief. How could it be this strong? Zekrom! Retreat! He immediately gave the mental command. He now understood he'd kicked the wrong hornet's nest. This youth wasn't just a hero of truth, he had a Mutwo too? Something was off. But the battered Zekrom couldn't escape. Mutwo Y's psychic force had locked it in place. Finish it! Dylan chuckled as he watched Rainbow Getsus's face twist in horror. Now that was the Getsus he knew and loathed. Mutwo Y's right hand clenched, flinging Zekrom down with a heavy crash. Its left hand turned to a distant mountain, and with a flick of its finger. Boom!
The mountain trembled violently. Then, under Mutwo's control, it lifted from the ground and hurled toward the restrained Zekrom.
What? Leaf was stunned. She'd read the Pokédex entries. Sure, it said Mutwo's psychic power could level skyscrapers. But lifting a mountain like it was nothing?
The sheer visual impact was beyond imagination.
A god's power, Luzumon murmured, utterly overwhelmed.
With a cold, indifferent expression, Mutwo Y dropped the mountain. It smashed onto Zekrom with a deafening crash, the peak shattered, boulders flew, smoke and dust engulfed the air, and the earth groaned under the impact.
Rainbow Getsus's face turned ashen. This was... Tisk, Mr. Getsus, looks like your power doesn't quite match your bragging. So, do I now have the right to defy someone who commands Zekrom? Dylan spoke lazily, watching Rainbow Getsus with a half-smile.
Rainbow Getsus fell silent.
He never imagined his Zekrom would fall this fast. Young man.
You are the hero of truth, but using Mutwo against Zekrom, this isn't right. His face twitched, forcing a laugh. But inside, he was screaming.
What, is your Reshiram just for show? You had Reshiram and you still used a Mega Mutwo to fight Zekrom? Wouldn't your white dragon be upset? This was supposed to be a clash of truth and ideals, damn it. Show some respect. Reshiram?
That wraps up this part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader.
Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned.
Quick reminder. What If Natsu Had Dual Elements will be going on hold soon, since we've nearly caught up with the author. I'd love to do another poll to decide our next project, but unfortunately, due to my travel plans, I won't be able to start a new series until the end of December if we go that route. So instead, I've decided that the series which came in second place in the last poll will be our next project. That means the series replacing What If Natsu Had Dual Elements will be What If Transmigrated into One Piece and Became a Marine. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.